Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about 2020's The Dark and the Wicked. And every month on the channel, we will do reviews for our directors here on the channel, and our director, Frank Rodriguez, chose The Dark and the Wicked to be reviewed by me. He's been picking movies that I've actually never seen before, and The Dark and the Wicked is directed by Brian Bertino, who's actually the guy who wrote and directed The Strangers. He wrote the second Strangers movie, but he didn't direct it. And this is actually the last movie he directed. It came out in 2020. He filmed this on his family's farm in Texas. He wrote this movie, he produced this movie, so you know he put his heart and soul into this film. I heard the name of this movie, but I didn't see it, and that's mainly because it came out in 2020, and in 2020, I feel like a lot of movies just got lost in the shuffle. We were dealing with the pandemic, movies that were coming out, a lot of them were just going right to streaming. Some came out in theaters once they were reopened up. Like, this movie didn't even make $500,000 at the box office, so it was pretty much sent out there to die, except for the horror fans. They found this movie, and for good reason too, because this is a fantastic horror film. It's a supernatural horror film. I would say it's more of a psychological horror film, but it's labeled a supernatural horror film. It follows a brother and sister played by Marin Ireland and Michael Abbott Jr. Marin Ireland is actually a Tony Award winning actress. I've seen her pop up in other things. She's in Hell or High Water and The Irishman, but I never really took too much note of her, and she gives a powerhouse performance in this movie. So they just show up at their parents' farm in the beginning of this movie. Their father is dying. He's had this illness that's been really dragging him down, and it looks like he's on his last legs. So the two of them show up basically to say goodbye to them, and unfortunately, their mother is being very cold and mean to them and saying, you guys shouldn't have come, and they don't understand why. It just seems like she's just angry about something. She's not really letting on to what's going on, but there's just something off about her, and she just keeps telling them, you know, you guys shouldn't have come. I didn't want you guys to come. Marin Ireland's like, no, we told you we are gonna come. Michael Abbott Jr.'s character, he actually is married, has two daughters, you know, so his head's not really there, but it is there. And Michael Abbott Jr. plays his character very direct. I love the way this guy plays his role. You know, he's very frank about things. He's very upfront. He tells you exactly what he's thinking. He lays it out on the table. He doesn't sugarcoat it for you. And I really did appreciate that about his character. Whereas Marin Ireland's character, you know, she's a little bit more emotional. We could see that this is really getting to her, that her father is dying. A big theme of this movie is how your parents age and how they come to the end of their life, how they end up. Their mother, like I said, is just so cold, and very, very early in this movie, something happens to her. She just starts to lose it. I'm not going to spoil what happens in this movie because I went into this movie completely blind, and I was absolutely blown away by it. Is it one of the greatest horror movies ever? No, it does play around with a lot of horror tropes that you know, especially in the demonic horror era, where we get a lot of these movies now, and a lot of them are very highbrow, very well made, but this one actually should have been more praised when it came out because it is extremely well made. First of all, it's shot beautifully, a very warm looking movie. At first, I wasn't into how this movie looked. It had that kind of early 2000s look where they put a filter over the movie, but as the movie went on, I really learned to enjoy it, and I really think that it helped to build the suspense of this movie, really create that Texas southern look. Like, these movies don't really have a very southern feel to them usually. Usually everyone's kind of speaking a little bit more proper than this. No, this feels like a Texas movie, like a southern horror movie. I think that everybody in this movie captured that perfectly, and the way it's shot just lends itself to that. Now, the sound design stood out to me so well. This does have physical media releases from RLJE, and there is a UK Region B release as well. But imagine this on 4K Blu-ray with this great audio design in this movie. I mean, they were making great use. I was watching this on streaming, and they were making great use of my speakers. I mean, you would hear something just come from the back left. That was the only channel that was being used, and you would just hear it creeping in, and then you would actually feel it go left to right. Just incredible sound design in this movie. I mean, this would definitely lend itself great to a 4K Blu-ray if it ever happens. Unfortunately, I doubt it will ever happen. Those physical media releases are probably all we'll ever get. RLJE actually was the studio that distributed this movie, so that's why they did the Blu-ray release. That audio design, the beautiful cinematography, and then on top of all that, it's a very, very well-told story. Yes, it does hit those horror tropes, especially for this type of horror film. You've seen it before, you'll see it again, but it's crafted so well, mainly because of the direction of this movie and the great performances by the two lead actors in it. They have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. The other main character in this movie is actually played by Xander Berkeley, who a lot of people like myself are going to recognize from Candyman, and he's also Todd from Terminator 2.
John! Come on, get your ass inside. Do what your mother tells you.
Not my mother, Todd.
I didn't even realize that was him. He plays a priest in this movie. We see him pop up a couple times, and he gives a very, very scary performance in one scene. And I didn't think this guy had it in him. I also didn't recognize him. I had no idea that was him. he's gotten older since 1991, so it's to be expected, but literally had no idea until I looked it up on Wikipedia after the movie was over. He gives a great performance as well. And this movie actually got under my skin. There were sequences in this movie that were actually downright scary. Most movies don't get under my skin and actually scare me, but this one did because of the great sound design. It also has some great moments that they build up to, and they actually scare the hell out of you. Really surprised me. This movie isn't overly gory, but when they do get to those overly gory scenes, they work perfectly because we're not getting bombarded with them throughout the film. It's a slow burn horror film, a very well made slow burn horror film with a great story at the center of it. Yes, you've seen it before, but I'll tell you what, they don't sugarcoat it. They don't try and give you the happy ending. I actually think the way they ended this movie was perfect. That's the way I would have ended it, and they ended it that way. So overall, this is a great film, and if you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's got physical releases. You can also stream this right now, and if you haven't seen it, I can recommend it. If I was going to give this film a score of 1 to 10, I would give this film a pretty damn solid 8.5 out of 10. Really glad Frank Rodriguez let me know about this one. It flew by me, and it really shouldn't have. This is a great horror film. The horror fan out there should check this one out if you haven't seen it. And guys, it's also Friday, and that means it's time for our digital code giveaway. In every single video we do on Friday, I'm going to ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one of those in the comment section below. As long as you do that, you come back to this Monday's video. I put your name on a magic wheel. I spin that bad boy 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And I figured, hey, we're talking about surprising horror films, and I wanted to ask you guys, what is a horror film that just surprised the hell out of you? You didn't see it coming, and you got great enjoyment out of it. It scared you. Let me know in the comment section below. But if you guys aren't a fan of horror, you know, we just got into 2024. I want to know, what is your most anticipated film or 4K Blu-ray for 2024? And you can leave that in the comment section below. Remember, you only got to answer one of them. You don't got to answer them both. So if you're not a horror fan, don't worry about that. And then just don't forget to come back to this Monday's video where I'll put your name on a magic wheel, and maybe you will be the winner of a digital code. But that's going to do it here for me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on, share this video, or if you guys would like to take your support of Let's Talk to the next level and want to become a channel member like my 3 producers, John Doe Juggalo, Jason Martin, and Nocturnal, or you can even become a director like Frank Rodriguez and have a review done specifically for you. Whatever you guys want me to watch, I will review it here on the channel as long as you are a channel director. But if you guys got no money to throw our way, or you want to even become a friend of the channel, which is the 3rd tier as well, that really helps us out. We want to thank everybody who's actually on the friends of the channel tier. That really does help us to keep making these videos as well, doing 4K Blu-ray reviews. We really appreciate it. But if you got no money to toss our way, don't worry about it at all. We really just appreciate you checking out this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and we just want you guys to get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then after you're done doing all of that, we'll be seeing you around.